Are you a life learner? This is Now Tell Us. I'm your host, Anthony Moirore. At Now Tell Us, we have guests come and tell us stories. They come and inspire us. They come and educate us on a subject. And every time that we have a guest here has always been a wonderful time. And that's a promise that today we are going to have a wonderful time because we have a wonderful guest with us here. Her name is author Rhonda Parker Taylor. And she's going to be here to tell us about becoming a life learner. But before she comes, let me thank you for being here with us also, our viewer, our listener. And if you would share this with your friends, we will appreciate. If you have a question on anything as we are going on, ask. We will be glad to answer. And if you have a comment on anything about the podcast, we love a feedback. So we thank you in advance as you go to give us some feedback. And now I want to take one more minute because I know that Rhoda has a lot to tell us. So why don't you join me as we go together to meet with Rhoda? Here we go. Hi, Rhoda.
Hi, everybody. So good to join you. Thank you for having me today. I'm really excited to talk about being a life learner. I think it's one of the most beneficial things a person can learn to do.
Oh, yeah, that's good. And we are excited to have you here because we know that you're going to tell us a lot.
Oh, well, hopefully I will learn as much from you guys as you will from me.
Okay, here we go. We are learning and we are becoming life learners thanks to Rhoda being here with us. Now, where is it in the world? We are always curious to know from which part of the world our guests are.
So I'm right in the middle of the United States, in Indiana, just on the north side of Indianapolis, one of the largest cities in the Indiana area. Also, it would be comparable to a Chicago. You know, it's not as large as a New York or an LA, but I'm really in my heart still a small town girl. I was raised in the northern part of Indiana, where in a small community called Noblesville. So if there's anybody out there from Noblesville, hey, how are you? Great to see you. And most of them will know me because that's how small it was when we grew up. Now it's getting bigger now, but it was a small community that you learn to help each other and grow from that smaller, more intimate environment.
That's so wonderful. And it's good that you greet our viewers or our listeners. So if there's someone there listening to us or watching us, we will also be glad to know from which part of the world you're listening or watching us from. And we appreciate your presence. Now, so you can put it in the comments. Now, growing up, you mentioned something there that is important, something that I've had guests come on my show and tell me, hey, Anthony, reading your book, I discovered that we raised in a different way. When talking about growing up and helping one another, the sense of community from where you're growing, how did it impact your life back then when you're growing up?
So my community, like I said, was not this normal city environment. I would consider it more of a farming or small community. Although we were not farmers, we lived. You know, there were farms all around us. The center of Noblesville was kind of the lifeline, but it was also surrounded by a lot of city and state parks. So, you know, we would ride our bikes, we would, you know, go to the parks and, you know, ride the carousels or play pet golf or go swimming. And so, our canoeing in the lakes and streams. So it was, I would say, kind of a wholesome raising, but at the same time, everybody participated. So
Mm-hmm.
let's say that you wanted ice cream. It was not uncommon that, all the kids would ride to the ice cream shop or grandpa's candy store, and they'd ride their bikes or walk or whatever. And you didn't end up in this community, but then the adults still watched out for the children. So no matter where you were, there was still the adult presence saying, okay, you need to get home. It's almost dark. There was no street lights
Mm.
unless you were in the city center. So, you knew you weren't gauged like the city children were. You were, yet when the street lights go on, you go home. No, it was either a bell that the neighbors had that was dinner time, and you could hear them ringing it, and then all the kids would run home and get inside. So firebugs, and a lot of people may never have even seen a firebug, but back then we would chase them and try to catch them and watch them light up in our hands, and watch the stars. So it was a community that knew everybody
Mm-hmm.
and knew your strengths and your weaknesses, and tried to help guide you at the same time.
Wow, that's wonderful. And you talk about having no city lights, and so we get the idea of where it is that you're coming from. And then we are seated here. This is 2023, almost going to 2024. And I know you've achieved much in life. And we are looking to enter into a new year, and we need to have some inspiration, some hope of the coming year. And one of the ways to inspire the listeners is tell us what became of you from that place of having some limitations, and what have you been? What's your career? Where have you been? What have you have achieved so far?
So, growing up, like I said, it was so nurturing, but at the same time, as a young woman wanting to explore the world, I wanted to see and I wanted to explore. So one of the very first things I did when I was of age is I wanted to go to college, but I wanted to go as far away from that small town as I could get. And I ended up going to the Dallas area for my associate's degree, and then I got my bachelor's, master's, and my doctorate. My journey was exploring not only who I am, but
Mm-hmm.
what the world is and what it has to offer. Because what I learned from taking that big leap of faith and going to a larger community like that was, oh, wait a minute, there's more out here than cows, chickens, firebugs, lake streams. And I'm like, oh my goodness, how do I navigate this? How do I learn? How do I explore? Luckily, my family was fairly diverse in their raising me to understand different cultures and people.
Mm-hmm.
So that helped me. So I was able to say, okay, wait a minute, I'm in the city. What am I going to do? But I had to always practice being prepared,
Mm-hmm.
because when you don't know what you don't know, then sometimes you have to take a step back and listen and learn from those around you to determine, okay, wait a minute, do I believe this? Do I not believe this? Do I want to practice this, or is it something I should be avoiding? So my first lesson in life was discernment.
Mm-hmm.
How do I discern good from bad? And how do I discern what's best for me and just what I accept that is somebody else's, belief system? So let life learning is not just about books, because
Mm-hmm.
academically I read all the time, and obviously with me being an author and an academic researcher, that's part of my lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
But life learning is also reflection.
Mm-hmm.
What am I believing? Is it an accurate belief system? Is it um, something that I learned from others, in the environment around me, or is it something that that I've created my own, maybe biases, or thought processes? So it's important to stay disciplined to reflecting. And how I kind of navigate that is I go through a process every 3 years to 5 years of doing a life balance assessment for myself. It's one I
Mm-hmm.
created for my students, but it's most people know what SMART goals are when they're dealing with them for maybe their careers. Okay, in
Mm-hmm.
3 years I want to do this, in 5 years I want to do this, in 10 years I want to do this. But that's not what all life is all about all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we have to make money. Yes, we want to be, progress in our lives, but there's other things that you have to learn to develop also as a life learner. How am I navigating my relationships?
Mm-hmm.
How am I being a positive influence in my community? Am I treating my pets, the way they need to be, treated? Am I treating my own health the way
Mm-hmm.
I'll never forget the first time that the doctor said, "Has anybody ever told you you're diabetic?" And I'm like, "No, when I was younger, maybe I get lightheaded or dizzy or, and my mom was a big no carb person. You eat more proteins. And so, it may never have shown up on a health screening." And
Mm-hmm.
they're like, "Well, you can't leave." And it was just that, for a flu shot. And she said, they're like, your sugar's way too high. And then I had to think about all the things I changed in my life. I
Mm-hmm.
was eating more carbs. I was eating more sugar. I was not exercising. So sometimes life lessons are not just about books. It's about navigating who you are
Mm-hmm.
and what you need to improve and finding the journey and the lessons of what you did before and what you need to change now. So that's why every 3 to 5 years I kind of reevaluate myself.
Yeah, that's good. And thank you for sharing that. And you mentioned of all the different areas that we have to look at. Now, we have a guest with us who's watching us, and his name is known as Ahmed.
Okay.
And in one of the areas that he would want to have some improvement and some advices from you is regarding, because she's a master's student, and he's a master's student, and he wants to know some advices regarding business opportunities or how to go about his career. Now, there's something that you didn't mention to us, Ahmed. You didn't mention to us what it is that you're taking at university. Maybe that could be more helpful. So, but you can give a general view
Sure.
on taking on careers and business opportunities.
The first thing is preparation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you're getting the education in there, but are you also already networking? Are you talking to your instructors? Sometimes people think that the instructors or the people around them, are more of a parent role, but really they should be taking a mentoring role.
Mm-hmm.
You need, because as soon as you get done with your education, you have to step into a business opportunity. Like he said, where do I do it? Well, those people are the ones that are going to give you the references. Where are you going to get your references from? So,
Mm-hmm.
and they will also know the people in the area that you're living in. Kansas is what he had put. So those people also already know what's out there in your community. They also most colleges have a career center. Now,
Mm-hmm.
if you're thinking about doing entrepreneurship. I come from an entrepreneurial background, and I have my own consulting company. So, but the one thing that my father always made each of us do: you
Mm-hmm.
must work for somebody else before you worked for him. Now, when we were younger, we would do the bending of steel, and we work in the plant and the powder coating line, because it was a steel manufacturing plant. We could do those kind of works, but before we could step into a manager's role or a
Mm-hmm.
management role or an office role, we had to go to work for somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're going to be an entrepreneur, I would say find that area that you would like to work in, or that you feel like you already have some skills in, and then you should work for somebody else before you work for yourself. The
Mm.
reason, they have the processes,
Mhm.
and you'll learn about the forms. You'll learn about the software programs that are good and bad. You'll learn about the supply chain. You'll learn who provides the different types of things, whether it be manufacturing or whether it be in service. Now, I worked for my dad for a while,
Mhm.
and I found out, and believe it or not, my background is first as a BSM, MBA, and then a doctorate in management and leadership. So you would think I'd be great at numbers. Guess
Mm.
I can do them on Excel
Mhm.
or SPSS, but guess what? I'm awful. I can do it, but it will take me twice as long as someone that's naturally good in math.
Yeah.
So I really had to think, what am I good at? And then I realized my passion was people
Mm.
and developing people. So to the it was Advar, is that right?
Is Ahmed. Is Ahmed.
Akbar. Yep.
Yeah.
So what I would suggest is first write a list of the skills that you're best at.
Yeah.
Is it math? Is it, is it the soft skills of business? What is it that is it technology? Boy, technology is blowing up everywhere. If you're good at technology, learn how to do it. But pick something that's new and fresh. Everybody's doing the digital now. We're past it. That's kind of like the .coms. We're past that learning curve. Unless you're really a gangbuster person out there, you better start thinking about more like AI or some of these other newer products that you want to support. But pick the skills that you're good at.
Mm.
And then what are you passionate about? Because you're going to be doing whatever this is for 8 to 10 hours a day. So if you are falling asleep in your class with it, you're probably going to be unhappy in your business life.
Mm.
So find the things that you're passionate about. And the other thing that my father would always say is, it's not about always your passion. So I'm saying, well, it's your passion, but it's not. Once you get into what it is, it's about the people.
Oh, it's about the people.
It's about the people. He would say, I never want my business sold. I
Mhm.
want it to stay in the family, but all these people that work for me are relying on their income. They're
Mhm.
relying on this business. So it's not about, oh, I want to go buy this new car and I can put it as a business expense, or it's about making sure it's a solid organization for whoever you're employing. And then
Mm.
learning how to be a good leader. So the opportunities are out there. Sometimes people say the American dream or the business dream is diminishing. It's only diminishing if you have the wrong perspective.
Mm. That's a
The
good one.
perspective is that you become a boss and you never work. That is not the right perspective. You don't
Mm.
become a boss not to work. You become a
Mhm.
boss to work more.
Wow.
And how many times do you hear that? Oh, I want to be my own boss because then I can do my own hours or I can do this. No, that's, you have to stay disciplined as a leader. So whether
Mhm.
you choose to stay in, corporate America or a small business and allow them to take the risk, because maybe you don't have that opportunity to take the risk right now. You might get that opportunity later as an entrepreneur. So it's never a never, but first work for somebody else because they have a structure, even if it's not a good structure.
Mhm.
You'll learn what's working and what doesn't work in it. So there's learning lessons. We can complain about structures that aren't working, but it's still a lesson.
Yeah. It's a lesson.
Maybe we want them to change it, or maybe make proposals for it, to change things, but it's still a lesson. You're learning what works, what doesn't work, and you're also learning how to navigate that.
Oh, good. So Ahmed says that he's telling us he's in supply chain management. That's what
Management.
he's studying. And the only challenge that he's having, according to him, is because he's an international student, he's
Mhm.
struggling to in networking with people.
Yes, I could see how that would be. First, then what I would do is find the community the Kansas area that is of the same nationality,
Mm-hmm.
and then also find. I don't know if he has sponsorship yet, but finding organizations that will sponsor.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because and then probably in doing that, you're going to have to go with a multinational organization, because a multinational organization may not only just sponsor you if you're wanting to stay in the United States, but they may have opportunities where, let's say, if you're from Barcelona or Indonesia, I'm not really sure the nationality here. So you can maybe find someone, an opportunity where you can work with an organization. A good example would be I did a emotional intelligence study for multinational
Mm-hmm.
leaders, okay, and domestic leaders. And
Mm-hmm.
the CEO of the Indiana division of Firestone was from Poland.
Mm.
So he worked in both Poland and the United States. So finding
Okay.
the opportunity of organizations that are doing business in regional, national, um, nationality will also provide opportunity, because languages they're going to need someone that's going to work in the plant you know um, wherever you're working for. So I would be networking and finding out what organizations do business both in the United States and in my original um, national nation of origin.
Hmm. Wow, that's very valuable. Thank you very much for sharing that. We appreciate. Well, and I believe that Ahmed is gaining some insights from what it is that you have shared. Now, I, as you're calling yourself author, we haven't talked of what it is that you've authored, and I discovered that early this year you came up with a book known as Crossroads. Is a suspense novel. Tell us about your writing journey, please,
Oh, I would love to. So,
and how.
Crossroads is a journey of learning. Okay, I mean, it's a fiction
Mm-hmm.
novel, and it's a kind of an Agatha Christie clue suspense novel. And you're thinking, why would a business person that's in academics take this journey? Well, one, I turned in a proposal to my superiors one time. And so I made a commitment that I was going to write a best-selling novel one day. And when I got handed back the proposal, there was one word circled. And my boss said, "You used the wrong word, insure." Now, this proposal was going to save them over $1 million. But
Mm.
the one thing that stuck out in his mind was the wrong word, the whole proposal. Now, they did implement that. But I thought, this has been a challenge of life, and that is making sure. And I still today, if I'm message, something about the way my brain is wired, I'll think I've got it all in there. And as soon as I see all 5 typos, there's something that it's probably a learning disability in there, working too fast, not detail oriented. But there's something in there that I had to say, you know what? This is something I need to do for me. And then I had been
Mm-hmm.
working in some volunteer groups in Indianapolis, and I learned some of just how unfair sometimes the world is to people, and especially in the justice system. Even when you think that there's
Mm-hmm.
a winner and a loser, and you're like, yeah, that's right, that's the way it's still doesn't feel right because people are losing their lives, or there's something bigger than just, yes, this is right, this is wrong. And so I started
Mm-hmm.
kind of working on the thoughts of Crossroads, and then I realized I wasn't just developing a fiction suspense novel that that is in a jury trial. I was developing people and characteristics of people that had real challenges and problems in their lives. So even
Mm.
the jury foreman, where that she has everything going for herself, and she's a workaholic though, and she's trying to navigate being at this trial, and things, the deadlines are being missed, things are getting dropped, and people are getting upset because she can't devote the time she needs to in one area of life. And then people start getting sick and dying around her. And it's a journey in reflecting who can you trust? Where are your emotions? And are you navigating those emotions correctly? So the three emotions that it um, follows is anger, fury, and jealousy. And so
Mm.
we have all had at some point in our lives. What Proverbs says about anger is cruel. And when you think of anytime you've ever been angry, I'm sure you're like, that your mouth isn't right. You're saying the wrong things to people. It is cruel, and it's cruel to yourself.
Mm.
And fury is
True.
overwhelming. And when you're furious,
Mm-hmm.
that's when the road rage hits, and nothing fits right. But who can stand before jealousy? Envy makes
Mm.
the bones rot. And that's actually in Proverbs.
Yeah.
So for me, and for all of those people out there in the world, that, sometimes you have to think about how you're treating other people, especially if you're in leadership positions, or, you're looking into some things that you would like to navigate in the future. If you don't have control of your own emotions, then you can't find the lessons that you're supposed to learn because you're too busy up in your own head.
Mm-hmm.
And so elevating others and learning not to and learning to be okay where you're at. You're a student out there. You want to maybe get your citizenship, or you're a student out there and you want to get an opportunity, or you're a student out there and you want to get higher education, or maybe you're a leader out there and you're not understanding why other people are getting your promotions. Start looking at it like you're sitting in your doctor's office. And
Mm.
why would I want to do that? Because once one name's called, you're the next one in line.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you can get out of the envy and start elevating your peer group, then what you're doing is you're surrounding yourself with people and networking and growing rather than shrinking your networking group. So success stories can only help you learn when you're already past adversity with each other. So think of the team model. There,
Mm.
you get together, you're assigned on a team. Well, whether it be school, work, community service, or even your home, you get into a team, and then guess what? As soon as the honeymoon part of it's over and you're done being nice to each other, there's going to be a storm.
Yeah.
And that storm is people trying to figure out, okay, how are we going to do the processes? Who's going to cook dinner? Who's going to do this? Who's going to, make the coffee in the boardroom? Who's going to do the writing? Who's going to do the editing? Who's going to do the technical part? You got all this storming going on.
Mm-hmm.
That's normal. So if you sit there and pick each other apart, you'll never get to norming. And norming is where you figured it all out. You have to
Mm.
learn to communicate that. And when you get done with the norming, guess what? You start performing. So there is a process there that we all have to stay disciplined. And sometimes, hopefully, you have a good coach or a good team member, whether,
Mm,
if it's your home, traditionally we would say it's the male figure of the house. But guess what? Anymore, it could be the woman in the household that's, and accept the roles. And then
mm,
once you accept the roles, then you can start putting, okay, this is what you're doing, so this is your deadlines, this is how you're going to handle things, you're going to bring this, I'm going to bring that, and these are the skills that we bring to the table. So
mm,
it's making sure you don't give up on that team process. If you start bad talking, tripping each other in the hall at work or at school or wherever, or at home even, we could do that,
mhm.
If you start doing that, guess what ends up happening? You're tearing each other down.
Yeah, reducing each other instead of building one another.
Yes. And
Yeah.
if reducing, what happens in your life if you reduce each other?
Then final, you become obsolete. You become nobody, and you all end up losing,
Yeah.
I
So
guess.
so the life lesson in that one is not only realizing that you have to participate,
Mm-hmm.
but it's also realizing that you have to communicate. And then you also have to take empathy and understanding of others' feelings. So that's that emotional intelligence model. When you can start listening to other people and navigating their emotions, then you realize, oh, wait a minute, there's more here. So, like in Crossroads, although it's a fiction novel and it's more of a whodunit suspense thrill, it does that because this woman is taken out of her normal daily routine
Okay.
and she's put into a jury pool and never navigated a legal system. She's sitting there, she's working with a household mother that's glad she's in jury duty because she's out of the house and doesn't have to deal with with the children anymore. And then she's dealing with the man that's the bailiff, that got a southern mentality that she just doesn't understand, and he walks slow, and she's like, come on, let's go, 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 go. So sometimes you have to navigate the world and realize, wait a minute, that's my way, that's not their way.
Hmm. Yeah, there has to come that time when you've just got to figure out what is around you, and take the right path towards where
Right.
you want to head, and understand other people that you are around. Now, we want to thank you very much, Rhoda, for coming here. Our time is almost up, and we would like to close. And you've told us so much about life learning, and especially mentioning that even though your book is a fiction, there's a lot of learning going on there. And then we also thank our guests for watching us and for giving us feedback, asking questions. And especially today, we want to thank Ahmed for him being here.
Thank
And
you, Akman.
yes, he appreciates us. He loves our podcast, just like other viewers and listeners. They love our podcast. Thank you very much to each and every one of you who love our podcast. And it's out of this that we get to improve. It's out of this that we get the inspiration to keep on moving. We, myself, and our guests, that is how we get to keep on moving. Now, Ahmed says that he's actually gained much from this episode, and he will be preparing for the best in 2024.
No, that's good. That's a great attitude.
Yeah, he's hoping that he's going to find an internship soon from whatever it is that the advices that you've given.
Yeah, and that's what I would try to find, who has, like, I know, there's a lot of businesses, supply chains is a big one. So I'm sure you can get an internship or an opportunity to work with somebody.
Yeah, he's gonna find some opportunity. So Ahmed, thank you for that. Rhoda, thank you very much for that. Now, this is to you, Rhoda. Ahmed is hoping the best for 2024. I know you don't only hope yourself, you plan and strategize. What is it that we are waiting from you for 2024?
Well, first there should be two more books, one novel, and which is part of the series of Crossroads, and then you'll also see a workbook on life balance, how to keep your life in balance but still progress forward in all your areas of life. That should be coming out end of January, beginning of February. I will still be doing academic research and career development. So if someone needs help in navigating that, I'll be glad to help them in any way I can. They can reach out on my website, Rhonda Parker Taylor .com. And for me personally, my goal for 2024, other than all the career ones that provide that oomph to my life to push forward, is to stay aware and of who I am and what my purpose is, and not get moved from that. Because many a times when you're a helping person, you move yourself from your own purpose to helping someone else in their purpose. So for me, is to continue to navigate to my own purpose and fulfill myself.
Wow. We're going to steal notes from you.
Well, we'll come back and we'll
I'm,
do
go-
another.
I'm going to be more aware of my service and whether I'm putting myself in a difficult situation by everything that I'm doing in my service to people.
Yeah, and you know what? It's okay to be a service to others.
Yeah.
Don't let your projects become you.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm.
have to put those healthy boundaries out there.
Wow. Wow, what some wonderful words. And this episode has been so rich. Thanks to you, Rhoda. We really appreciate your coming.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, it's such an honor that you've paid us a visit. And also, thank you, each and every one of you who's been watching or listening. Even if you get to watch this or listen to this after it's recorded, like many of us do, then we also thank you for taking your time. You can always leave with us some feedback on our platforms, follow us, subscribe to our channels, and don't forget to follow up with Rhoda Parker Taylor, and especially Ahmed, because you'd want more advices. As you said, head, o- head on to www.rhodaparkertaylor.com. It's there on your screen. It's also in the description. You can just click there and land on her website. And that's about it. Thank you very much once again, Rhoda.
Thank you. Have a good day, everybody. Be blessed.
Yeah, be blessed. And we wish you a great 2024.
It's hard to believe we're here.
Yeah. This has been Now Tell Us. I've been your host, Anthony Morore. And together with our guest today, author Rhoda Parker Taylor, we are saying, have a wonderful time. And bye
Bye
for now.
bye.
Bye.